Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, Bucks and fans joining us around the world. It's time for the mouth you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight to land on the line.
Minnesota Vikings fans, the Purple People Eaters pod returns. I am your host, Chris Carlson. My co-host, Aaron, will be joining shortly. Obviously, we do not have a victory to boast about or even feel good about or whatever, right? To have the lead in the NFC North, none of that is happening at this point in the season. The Bears, especially in the first, I shouldn't just say first half of the game, until the fourth quarter, really, the Bears pretty much manhandled the Vikings, especially offensively. The offense was just non-existent for quite some time. First half, no show. Second half, something, but not much until late, very, very late. Then we had, those two scoring drives, whatever. So, obviously, not the best circumstances here for the Vikings. Now, it is a road game. We got to keep that in mind, and we do have the Bears at home to close the season. So, we got a long, long way. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. However, the Vikings have now had 3 what you could call high-profile games. And in all 3, they came up short. And we talked a little bit, me and my co-host Aaron did, kind of exchanging messages a little bit before the show. And, coming off the Rams game, I felt better because it was a competitive game the whole time. We kept fighting back. Now, the defense, that was an issue in that game. But the offense was like, wow, okay, we're going to be able to operate somewhat in a shootout. Second time around in the high profile game anyway, the Saints. Well, we outplayed them. I mean, beyond the turnovers, and that's part of the game. So we didn't completely play them. But if you look at Drew Brees' numbers, if you look at, or lack thereof, I should say, we actually had him throwing an interception. It felt better. You could at least point to, you know what? Without that and that, we got this game. Now, that and that is very costly, and there's, 4, 5, 6 plays in a game that, especially in the pros, that win games or lose games. But after this one, especially through 3 quarters, really, offensively, it's either our offense is lacking, the beginning of the season, first chunk of games, offense had it going pretty well. I mean, considering they didn't put up many points against Green Bay until the fourth quarter, they ended up with 29. The defense was struggling. It was struggling like we hadn't even seen under Zimmer beyond, I guess you could say, year 1, which isn't even his squad at that point. As far as the players and the scheme and all that. And then offensively, we ran into some issues where you're like, all right, our defense is better. Now our offense keeps leaving plays on the field. There are a couple of moments, the Lions games, the Jets, there are moments where we came together as a team and played well. But for a full game, I don't think that's happened, or it's been very rare anyway. So we're going to start the show with recapping the Bears' loss last night in prime time, of course. Now Cousins, we should trade Cousins for a 7th-round pick. We should fire Zimmer. and shut down the season. Shut it down. Shut down the whole season, right? Wrong. Let's just calm down, everybody. Now, we're going to start with offense. The offensive line, Cousins, misfires, red zone issues. We're going to start there. Talk about the defense, that played good enough to win, but the turnovers, missed tackles, that type of thing, hurt us in key spots. There were the penalties. It's not like there was a ton of them, but they were timely. And then, we got to preview the Packer game. That's the thing about this schedule, man. Hey, the Packers at home, sure, they lost. They're not great. They do have a great offense, though, it seems like. A pretty damn good one anyway, and we know who's, under center. And then we got to go back on the road to the Patriots. November on the road in the Patriots, I'm sorry, that is actually technically December. That's tough. In Seattle now, playing pretty good, especially at home. So, boy, we're back in how many must-wins can you have before you even get December? The Vikings have had a couple already. We thought must-win was last night. Now it kind of feels wild card-ish. Can we sneak in wild card via the wild card? We'll see. So, and of course, like we do, since this is a Minnesota Vikings themed podcast. It's right there in the title, The Purple People Eaters Podcast. We figure if you're from Minnesota or you just follow Minnesota teams or whatever, we figure you're going to at least maybe like a percentage. I'm not going to say small percentage, but a percentage of you out there follow Minnesota sports and, of course, the Golden Gophers. We're going to unfortunately, it was a rough one for Minnesota teams. They lost to Northwestern. Had a chance to win that game. Turnovers were key in that one. And then we're going to preview the last game of the regular season. Let's hope it's not the last game of the season against the Wisconsin Badgers in Madison. Hey, Camp Randall, here we come. And, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. Late in the show for the Gophers segment. We're going to keep it all Minnesota Vikings, though, for the most part. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, the Purple People Eaters Podcast, you can find it right here live. We stream it live on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live and it archives here. This is the headquarters. So the Purple People, the Vikings podcast is under the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Player FM, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. You can find that everywhere, including iHeartRadio. You can stream it on Spotify and more. The Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's boxing, it's everything. Did I say baseball? I did. Everything in between. Head on over to thegrueling.net. That's thegruelingtruth.net. You can listen to the podcast right there as well. You can read an article or two. And while you're at it, place a bet. It'll link you right to mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host Aaron into the fray. So, Monday morning, we get the Monday morning, what the hell am I talking about? Monday night. I mean, my schedule, it is kind of afternoon right now. But, the Monday blues with our prideful purple team here went down. And I can't even say offensively they went down swinging until the last quarter, man. What the hell happened last night?
Well, I think a number of things happened. It's rough to wake up on a Monday morning, a game and a half back in the North. Kind of expected to be a little bit happier, but yeah, I think what we saw last night was kind of something that was foretold of earlier. Just the fronts, both fronts, the defensive line and the offensive line, just didn't show up to play. And I think there's different stories on each side of the ball. The defensive line is definitely talented, and I just don't think they brought it last night. On the other hand, the offensive line, they played their butts off. They're just not good enough. And so we're getting into that a little bit later, but it's good to be back on the Purple People Eaters podcast, ready to talk some football.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it felt a little different. Maybe it was early in the season with that Rams game. Maybe we saw what we did in the Saints game, and we could put it down to 2 plays and go. Other than that, man, if that doesn't happen, or if just one of those things doesn't happen, maybe we could win the game type of thing. But in this one, sure, those 2 drives were great at the, in the fourth quarter, but a little too late. You know what I mean? Especially, we're going to start with the offense. Obviously, we got it. We basically already have. Just anemic. Offensive line, like you said, they play their heart out, like Zimmer said as well, but they're just right now. They're just not that good. We knew that was. We've talked about it a variety of times throughout the last couple of months. How we know that is the missing link. Have we seen improvements in the run game? Sure. There are times where we can protect the quarterback a little bit if we have the run game going. There are times where we've seen some nice holes open up, and mostly Murray, obviously, because he's been active, run right through them and run for touchdowns. He had that 150-yard game. So, sure, we saw, like I said, though, we saw improvement, but they were very small increments. We kept looking, all right, we're up to 90-something yards. We haven't even broke 100 yards on average yet to get it all the way up to where it's at least decent. Just looking at the first half, and we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk minor positivity late, with that offense. But as far as the offense goes, and kind of the first half feel, right away, 3rd and inches, lose yards on the first drive. Not a great sign, but it is what it is. But you see a theme. We had, I think, 3 and outs in the first half. There was a missed tackle on Trubisky for a first down run. We get down into the red zone, or we're getting pretty close to the red zone, and Cousins overthrows Diggs. And it was funny because, well, it wasn't funny. I chose my words improperly there. It wasn't funny, but we talked about how important the run game is, or at least some substance there. Can you get us to 80 or 90 yards? That's really all we need this year, it seems. But obviously that didn't happen. We'll go over some of the stats and numbers later as well. But, we actually had a play action that worked. He rolled out. There was no one around. And I felt like Cousins misfired. He overthrew the ball. But I would have liked him to get his footwork there proper. Nobody was coming. I mean, they were coming, but not like he wasn't about to get hit. He could have planted his feet and maybe thrown a better ball. Now, we've seen him throw some good-ass balls under heat or on the run about to get hit. But, man, I would have liked to seen him plant his feet. That would have been a touchdown. Diggs got open, period. That's the touchdown. That's the one he normally hits. It puts it right in the breadbasket. That was not the case. A couple of plays later, Khalil Mack. We got Mack attacked. And if it wasn't the Mack attack, it was Akeem Hicks. Oh, my goodness. Akeem was just a nightmare for our offensive line to go along with the Mack attack. Khalil Mack, the best linebacker in football. But a couple plays later, Mack, in the red zone, and that's the thing. The turnovers in the red zone, or a turnover in your own, what could be red zone, just hurt us. Cook fumbles, they get the ball. I think that they actually went and got a field goal. Not totally sure on that. I can't really remember there. But then a couple of first half, more missed tackles. He's juking, he's jiving, or you're just mistackling him like you're going to light him up. He's not the smallest guy out there. I also noticed, and this is kind of a theme, you know what? Harris, who had a great game, 2 picks, he actually had a pick to make up for that fumble. So they didn't score on that drive. So in the end, it hurt us because we didn't go away. We didn't come away with points. And obviously, a couple plays earlier, Cousins misfiring. But it didn't ultimately kill us against you could say, because we did get the ball back. I noticed this a lot, Aaron. The misdirection run game. It was working early and often, and they kept it going through 3 quarters. You saw guys like Harrison Smith stumble when he's trying to tackle Cohen. Stumbled a little bit later. Like I said, missed tackles kind of all over the place. And then, Diggs actually breaks a tackle to get near the red zone, and their next play, interception. So we get down to the red zone once, we fumble. We get down there again, and, Cousins, it was an overthrow. They're saying it's a miscommunication with Rudolph. I know he was getting hit when he released it. That is what it is. We know the pick we're going to talk about a little later was 100% all Cousins. But the misdirection running, I noticed that in the first half and some in the second half as well. But just that first half, what do you think, man? Because you could just see we weren't getting pushed, like you said, on either side of the ball, but especially for our offense. The first half, it's like, dude, when you do move the ball, then you screw it up and turn the ball over. Whether it's just, not putting up points in the red zone or just not even getting points because of mistakes. The first half was just horrendous, man. I suppose the Bills, because they cashed in on it too. Maybe that was a worse first half scoring-wise, and it's the Bills, and it's at home. Other than that, that was just an ugly display of I don't even really want to call offense at this point in the game.
It really was. I thought the offensive line just got pushed around literally, and it was bound to happen at some point in time. I didn't necessarily call it to be something that would happen against the Bears because I really didn't give enough respect to their defensive line. I know they've got Mack and Hicks, but some of the other guys were making plays, and the offensive line just really couldn't get any push at all. And there goes the running game. And if your offensive line is ineffective, well, then your offense is going to be ineffective. So it just seemed to me that was kind of the linchpin to it all, and they smartly went at it and put a lot of stunts and did a lot of work and made sure that they couldn't get what they wanted. The Cook fumble was very frustrating, although it was washed out by the Harris interception, which kind of made you feel a little better. But, that first drive, as you mentioned, where they couldn't get the 3rd and inches, that just kind of set the tone, and you were just kind of like, this is not going to be good. And they did come around in the second half and kind of get some points in garbage time, but that game wasn't as close as the score would have you believe. So it was really just a dominating performance by the Bears, as much as we hate to say it, on both sides of the line. And that's a big problem going forward. Not only do you lose this game, but it really exposes you for the future. And the future means later on in this season, other teams can just come at your line and play. Now, on a brighter note, I thought O'Neal played well. Elflein kind of had his worst game, but I still think he's a good player. And Reef kind of got it together and actually managed to hold down the left side of that offensive line. So like we've been saying and harping since the beginning of the season, is we really just got a deficiency at guard. Remmers doesn't seem to be the answer there. I don't know if you move him back to tackle, but, what else do you have at guard? We really need essentially 2 guards that can play up average or above average, or it's going to be really bad. Now, like you were saying, Cousins just had a bad game, missed a lot of throws, threw some picks, really didn't seem to have the energy, just kind of seemed a little bit mopey. I don't know what that comes down to, but, the pass he missed to Diggs is one that he usually hits, and you just kind of expected that ball to end up in Diggs' hands, and it didn't. So, yeah, it's a very tentative look there going forward with the offense if we can't shore up the line some way. Now, we're not going to face defensive lines like the Bears offer, but there are a lot of good defensive lines out there, and if you show the rest of the league that your offensive line is poor, well, we saw a couple seasons ago what that tells for the rest of the season. So, it was the Bears that set off that season, and it's quite possible that the Bears might set off this season as well.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on a couple of your thoughts, but just taking us through the second half, the defense on back-to-back possessions caused turnovers on an interception and a fumble. Harrison had that second on the overthrow. Set them right at the 31. Set the Vikes offense right at the 31, inside, more than just across the 50, more than just inside the territory. I mean, you're in a good spot right there. You potentially have a field goal right there. But that's back-to-back turnovers, and we could only get 6 points out of it. And that was, it was disgusting. But that would have been so nice to get a touchdown there just on one of them. Just one of them. That's 10 points instead of 6. It makes a difference, in the long run. Obviously, when you have Diggs chilling, sure, it's short of the first down, but it's yardage. That's the worst throw I've seen him throw all year, was that pick six. I mean, at least the other pick six was explainable. This one was not, period. There's no in-betweens, nothing. He threw it to, of all people, Treadwell into double and almost 2.5, Aaron, that the third guy was coming. So it's like, dude, that was a bad one. Now, we know that we kind of have talked about, like you mentioned too, piggybacking off of what you said with the offensive line. We knew that was good. It was all going to come down to that this year. As the weeks went on, it became more clear. They showed some minor improvement when we got some health in there, but still, just not up to par for a championship level, offense to actually week in and week out, do it in different ways too, not just passing a bunch of times. You got to run as well, but yeah, man, you're gonna have what I was trying to lead to is Cousins too. Like, how many times have we said? How many times is he going to be able to throw the ball while getting hit and either A, get hurt, or B, throwing some picks or whatever, just not completing these passes that he was for a good chunk of the season. We know he can operate under pressure. He's the most pressure quarterback in the league. He has the best numbers, basically, 4 or 5 different top categories right then and there, so he can do it. He's actually never been this pressured in his career. So he's putting up really good to great numbers at times. But this game, although I don't think it was the Buffalo game, maybe because that stuff happened so early, a lot of the stuff, he didn't fumble. He got hit. He got sacked 2-3 times, but he got hit a lot. Didn't fumble, so that's all positive. But, yeah, that pick six was all Cousins 100%. Now, they did have, they went to the no huddle, not just because they want to try something different because of the score. Maybe we could have went no huddle earlier. I don't know. Like I said, though, there were a fair amount of 3-and-outs and 5- and 6-play drives, so you are going to wear out you have the potential to wear out your defense as well, that the defense that's keeping you in the game. But the 2 11-play drives, they did score. They did make it interesting. Now, here's where the defense, you mentioned the defensive front wasn't they normally are. I agree with you there. They obviously made a lot of plays back, though. But, yeah, the missed tackles were killing me. And then the dub penalties on top of that. Also, we missed 2 picks. One of them by Rhodes could have potentially been a pick six either way. It's an interception. But the unnecessary roughness by Harrison Smith late in the game, it put him in field goal range. It was on a 3rd down. It put him right in field goal range, and they go by an extra 3 that basically made it that much tougher. If we even had a chance to come back at that point, which technically we did, and like I said, we take some positivities going into next week off of those 2 drives, those touchdown drives. Sure. Yeah, it makes you feel a tad better in the locker room watching the tape, but it doesn't make us feel any better. And like I said, Akeem Hicks, we could talk about Khalil Mack, and you got to, the one, just the stiff arm. He was dogging out people. Bunch of little, It was kind of like a big brother, little brother, man-child thing going on, and that doesn't happen in the NFL much. Man-child is usually college football, college basketball, where you talk about that. But like I said, Akeem Hicks was hurting us, man. He was hurting us. So the defense played pretty good considering. Sure, it wasn't at its top level, but it's not like Trubisky had a great passing game like he didn't go over 300 or 400 yards like we've seen him, but it was last week. I figured he'd run early, but we'd catch up to it, and it'd be 3rd and 14, and he'd run for 8 yards, and kind of like the play actually that Harrison Smith hit him a little, not really late, but when a quarterback is going down like that, and I know some people say, well, he wasn't sliding leg first. And I get that, but he was sliding. And he knew he was going to be short of the first down. So, overall, just the costly mistakes. The costly mistakes there for the defense was rough. And like you said, not the constant pressure. We come off a game where we had 10 freaking sacks, and we just couldn't get enough pressure. We really couldn't. But I say they did contain them enough to win the game. So they played good enough to win the game. I definitely believe that. But yeah, whether it was the running back or the quarterback, they just missed tackles. What else you got coming out of this game, man? They had time of possession, of course, by like 10 minutes. And real quick, I'll let you go here, but look at this, man. 14 attempts for 22 yards rushing, $106 a clip, $148 rushing 39 times. And like I said, I'll go into some other stats that I accumulated a little later. Go ahead. What were you going to say, sir?
Well, I was just going to say it's not so much the lack of pass rush, because that was going to be disciplined anyway, just to try to contain Trubisky from running. It was more of the reminiscent of what we saw in the Rams game of giving up 6-7 yard runs on first down and just not stopping the run. A 3rd and 21, which the Bears converted, comes to mind. That was appalling. I don't remember if that was a pass. I think it was a run play. I think it was Tariq Cohen. That was appalling. I just couldn't understand why we couldn't get a stop on him. And we had mentioned earlier that the keys were going to be to stop Trubisky from running, and that really just frustrated me to death. Now, we did have those 2 interceptions by Harris, who just continues to keep making plays out there, which is impressive. But I thought, defensively, we played well enough to win that game. After the misdirection and all that stuff kind of got sussed out in the first half, they kind of settled in and kind of were reminiscent of defenses that we're used to seeing. So I think holding them to 24 points was adequate, just that the offense couldn't get anything going. And that kind of was the problem, and it's starting to be kind of a recurring theme. I think that Barr will be back. I'm not sure that Wilson is that much of a downgrade from Barr. I think it's just kind of different looks. Wilson is fast and can hit, and he made a good play on Trubisky as well. But having him scatter around in the pocket was just driving me nuts, and because he knew you had to prepare for that, and it just didn't seem like the preparation kind of translated to the field. So I don't know if how much of that is coming off a bye and kind of getting ramped up again, or if it was just, being outclassed by the Bears, which is hard to even say coming out of my mouth. But, it kind of just looked like that. Now, you defensively, like I said, we kind of contained what they wanted to do. They did a lot of razzle-dazzle kind of stuff that, like you're saying, the misdirection and things like that were confusing them, but they settled in, got their keys. So the real problem, I thought, was just the inability for the defensive line to kind of make a wall and kind of stop the run to 2 and 3 yard gains instead of 7 on first down and 6 on first down and then 3 on second down, and then you're at 3rd and inches, and it just kind of happened the whole game, and just didn't look like it was going to be a good night for the defense overall if they kept that up.
Yeah, and just to kind of go with a little bit more stats that you go, The Vikings ran the ball 8 times in their first 13 plays, and then 5 times in the next 54. Now, Chicago had the second best run defense. I'm guessing they got the number 1 run defense now after that, 22 yards. That's just a guess. I don't know that, but probably. So there you go, Bears fans. You got the number 1 run defense based off what you did to us. But even looking at this is, late fourth quarter, but late in the game, 16 yards on 12 rush attempts, right? They were 2-9 on third downs at this time, and yet they were only down 14-6 with 11:46 to play. It's frustrating on a variety of levels. When it comes to that, Delvin Cook, he actually played a career high 59 snaps, but he had 9 carries, 12 yards. Didn't get the pass game going with them anyway, out of the backfield and whatnot. Cousins was pressured 16 of his dropbacks, which is the second most he's seen this season. Yada yada yada. Zimmer said, he doesn't want to just 100% blame the offensive line. Obviously, turnovers, miscues, and whatnot have to do with it, and I agree with him to an extent there for sure. There were a couple things that the offensive line didn't have anything to do with. So, but yeah, there's one more point I wanted to. I just lost it. But overall, just a bad one, and there's no rest for the weary, dude. You got the pack attack coming in, the Packers, and must win, no doubt about it. Sunday night again, and then we got a primetime afternoon game on Fox against New England at New England, and I believe it's a Monday night game at Seattle, and then we go noons, but we say that they're probably going to change, especially the Chicago one. That'll probably change to, hopefully it changes to a 3:25 start Central, because that means we still got a chance for that division. And it's not over. But man, we're going to have to do it, just bit by bit, piece by piece. And I do it. This is what I was going to ask you before we kind of close up shop here on this recap and get into the preview of the Packer game. Would you have liked to seen them go no huddle earlier to try to maybe take some of that pass rush away, 3-step drop, get it out of your hand, or you're already in shotgun and it's almost like 3.5, 4, 5-step drop at that point, your stuff, and you get them more tired because they have less time, obviously, to catch their breath between plays. Would you like to see them go to that no huddle earlier? Do you think we'll see it now, maybe off of that success? Sometimes you see success even in even in a loss, it gets carried over. What do you think about the no huddle? Just maybe helping this offensive line. Of course, it gets them tired. We can't do it the whole game, but maybe just to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, a happy accident, so to say. If they had game planned that, I certainly wouldn't have minded, but they obviously didn't. So, yeah, I think it has its plus and minuses, some of that you've already articulated. You do change up the tempo a little bit, keep the defensive line, sort of wear them down, and, keep them jumping, maybe not let them substitute the way they want to. It's got a lot of pluses to it, but then you've got to be really tight on what you're doing, your calls, your audibles, your things like that to make sure that you're not getting false starts and 12 guys on the field and things like that. So it's a good idea in principle. Execution's a little different, but if they can execute it, I think it's a good idea. One, kind of take a break off your line. They were doing last night a lot of quick stuff, and I think they kind of anticipated a heavy rush, so a lot of things were going back, 3-step, get rid of it, 3-step, get rid of it. I was surprised I didn't see any screens. You would think that would be a logical thing to do in that situation. I didn't really see any screen passes, at least not many of them. There might have been one or two, but I don't think there were. That's something you usually do when you get a heavy rush, and we could have done some misdirection as well. There was a lot of over pursuit I thought I saw, and they didn't really do anything to address that. So there were some things that could have been done offensively, including the no huddle. But, you can't live on that But like you said, do a little, pull it back, probably would be beneficial at this point. You got to try something.
Right, and here's a little bit. I didn't hear because I had a couple other things to do, so it didn't get posted in a chunk of hours that I had time to listen to it. Now I heard the post game one, but usually has that Monday press conference. But there is a couple of things that that staff writer for ESPN, Courtney Cronin, wrote about. And here's the interesting thing, and we've all, Coach Flip, we have been a little skeptical on some of the play call, especially passing so much. Mike Zimmer theorized Minnesota Vikings may have had too much volume within their offensive playbook. Basically saying, the lack of miscommunication, explosive plays, turnovers, broken plays, and all that. He concluded, here it goes, let's just play football. You run a few good out routes, you run the out route. He runs the good curl, you run the curl. You know what I mean? So maybe we just need to focus on kind of like, I guess you could say, getting back to the basics rather than the trick misdirection stuff or whatever like that. I'm literally just, hearing it right now. Obviously, we got to get the turnover number down. It's the highest it's been in a while. And we, this game we created turnovers. It's something we can always improve on defensively is, creating turnovers, of course. But he did it sounded like he was talking a little bit about, maybe we should have quieted up the playbook. Maybe we actually added too many wrinkles, and maybe we should run the ball too. He wants to run the damn ball. It's got to be killing him. Obviously, with this offensive line, though, it's kind of it makes it tough. Obviously, some guys are going to have to take some pay cuts, and we're going to have to bring in somebody. We're going to have to draft. We're going to have to fix that at some point, or just tighten it up, whatever. Heading in, do you have any, anything you want to add on to that? I just saw it randomly when I was looking at, going to the Packer preview and whatnot. I saw that because I hadn't seen the presser from today just yet. So it sounds like he just thought a little bit, kind of what he's been hinting at all year a little bit. But any more to add to this, to what I just mentioned, or in general, or should we get to the preview of the Packer game here?
I did hear that little snippet that you were bringing up as well. And, does that say that Zimmer is a little dissatisfied with DeFilippo? And obviously you want to run the ball more. I mean, I think that's something that Zimmer would really like to do, and I think that's what he's used to, and kind of a bedrock of, it allows you to rest your defense, which is, probably what he has more in mind. But quickly, before we go on to the Packers, there's an interesting stat that came across today that for the last 4 years prior to this year, our offense was fourth in the league in turnovers, as in not giving them up.
Right.
The year after that, we were sixth. Last year, the year before that, we were seventh. Last year, we were third. This year, we're ranked 25th in that category. So we're obviously creating a lot more turnovers. That puts a lot of pressure on the defense. I just thought it was a really interesting stat to bring in. It's really Cousins, the addition of Cousins, and it's not all him, but a lot of the fumbles and the interceptions, I think, have been more than I can remember in recent memory. It's not all Cousins, obviously. When you're under pressure the way he is, causes you to make some difficult decisions. But I just thought it was a really interesting stat, and we can go on to the Packers.
Yeah, and then you add on to that with the lack of run game, and all of a sudden this doesn't look like the type of offense Zimmer wants. You know what I mean? That's just point blank. It's like, no, these are not the principles that I have. I want to run the ball. I want to be smart with the ball, So that's interesting. As far as this game coming up, both, defensively, I don't think we're as bad as almost basically 23 points a game. But that's what the stats say. There's going to be a lot of points in this game, I assume. I'm not going to sit there and tell you it's going to be, college game like we saw these NFL games. I'm not going to say that, but they both can put up some points, and defensively they've struggled. Now, Packers have struggled more than us overall, I guess you could say, but right now they've lost 3 out of 4 games, and they're struggling. Now, I say struggle, but they lost to the Rams by 2 points, 29-27. They lost to New England 31-17, but even in that game, they were leading, and they just lost to Seattle on the road 27-24. They barely beat San Francisco, but then did kind of wallop. They did Miami 2 weeks ago. So they're kind of all over the place right now. First game was a tie, obviously. We're going to need a lot more offense early if you look at how long it took us to get going. Once we got going, oh boy, we got going. But, we need to get going much earlier than the first one in this rematch. Overall, I don't think we're going to lose this at home. I think we will bounce back. If you look at Zimmer's records after losses, we generally do fairly well. I don't know. Graham sounds like he's going to play with a broken finger. They do still have Cobb and a couple other guys out. Like you said, I think Anthony Barr will be back. We don't have the exact progress report right now. But like we mentioned, another must-win. This is a must-win, man. And right now they got the over-under at 48. I feel like it's going to just inch over that. That's a good number, though, because I could see it just barely under that. Vegas obviously knows what they're doing. How do you feel coming into this game, man? Another must-win against the hated Green Bay Packers. At home, though.
Yeah, this is, I think, the first truly must-win of the season. I mean, you have to win this game for the division, for the conference, where your playoff hopes are on the line. This is a big game, flexed. I don't think it was flexed. It's just going to be another night game, which, kind of gives me pause. It doesn't seem like we're playing well in the spotlight, but Packers have been playing pretty well. They've got some losses, but they've got Aaron Jones now who's running really, really well. That kind of scares me a little bit. He's a different kind of back. He's quick and shifty and fast and small. So it's hard to get your hands on him. Pretty easy to tackle, though, I think, if you can get your hands on him. I was kind of checking out the receiving corps. It's like they're young, they're talented, but they're just not there yet. They've got that guy that's been there for a while, but then they've got the 2 other guys, the 2 young guys, Valdez Scantling and St. Brown, they're tall, they're fast. They've got all the tools. They're just young and haven't been in the system for a while. So, I think that's going to be a bit of a thing there. And there seems to be some turmoil with the coaching staff. There's a lot of hate McCarthy stuff going on right now, and that adds a little turmoil. So this is either going to be a game where the Packers get right or it ends their season. So they've got as much to play for as we do. They're a little bit behind us. Interesting division this year. You get the Bears on top, us in second, Packers just below that. I think they're tied with the Lions now, who ended up with a good win over Carolina, which was a surprise. But, yeah, it kind of sets up this way where we've kind of lost all our margin for error now going forward, and we've got some tough games coming up. Everybody else's schedule is a little bit lighter than ours since we have the first-place schedule. So, it's a little bit shaky. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of points because I just can't see our defense giving up, over 25 points. So I think it'll be under. And scoring points will be at home. That's always a plus. Apparently our kicker can make some kicks, which is pretty cool. Got to see 2 made kicks last night. That was a relief.
I didn't even want to bring that up. I didn't even want to bring that up, man.
You're probably
You're right,
wise.
though.
It's probably wise,
a little more comfortable. I'm not having to hold my breath and block my eyes and just, have my fingers kind of creased open to see if he made it or not. So, yeah, at least we got some positivity in that way.
Yeah, so knock on wood. What do you think of the Packer defense? It's kind of been up and down, and it gives up yards, and it doesn't give up points. They play strong. So it's a different defense than we saw, I think, in week 2. So what are your thoughts kind of going in about their defense? Can they – I guess my concern about it is that if we expose the offensive line like we did last night, that changes their game plan coming in. And maybe their defense will be a little bit stronger. I don't know. What are your thoughts on their defense? I'm kind of wishy-washy on it.
I think that's a good way. I think I'm right there with you. Maybe it's not a good way to look at it, but that's the way I look at it too. I'm wishy-washy on it. And by the way, right now, first quarter, 13-0. Rams up on KC. 9-1 teams going head-to-head. Kind of interesting there. But yeah, I am wishy-washy on it because sometimes they can make, some really good plays. If you look at their point total, it's hard to say bend that don't break because they broke, a handful of times this year. But they have that feel. I think you're right. As far as the bend that don't break, like I said, they do make stymied us for quite some time. Rodgers is still, doing his thing. This guy. There's times where he's limping. There's times where you go, okay, he's probably, he's hurting here. No, he's okay. He's got how many picks? 1 pick, 2 picks, something like that. Not many at all. Against the good teams, they've generally been in on it. We're gonna need to run the ball. If there's ever a game, well, hey, let's run the ball. Adrian Peterson, who, by the way, is passing people this year on the rush list and the touchdown list, he ran for $120 their first meeting. I really think that our defense is going to potentially have to be that bend but don't break, against them. And we gave up some big plays the first go around. I think we'll tighten some of that up. Obviously, the key to Rodgers in any quarterback in general is to hit him and sack him, whatever. But it does seem like when you're really getting to him this year because of that injury, you can literally see him limping out there. So am I saying, hey, let's, just go for the knee? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that per se. But I'm saying is you gotta bang him up. You gotta bang him up. To get him a little gimpy out there. But he's gonna make some plays that are just nuts. Now the Packers, I don't think they've won on the road just yet this year. Let me rewind this. I don't think they have. They have not won on the road this year. 0-5 on the road. Only 3 of 550 playoff teams in Super Bowl era didn't have a road win within their first 10 games. Oh, boy. Why did I have to find this stat, Aaron? Why did I have to find this frickin' stat? Did I just do it? Did I just do it? Oh, my God. I just did it. I'm sorry, Vikings fans. I'm picking. If it makes you feel better, I am picking the Minnesota Vikings to win a close-ass game. And this one might be that fourth quarter game where whoever has the ball last, whether it's us driving and having to make a points, plural, some points. I'm not even going to say anything beyond that. Or, and this is what I hope for, is that we have the ball in our possession, but we have to knee it about 3 times and the game's over. Bend that don't break on defense is key, and we have to just make enough running plays, I guess you could say. We have to rush the ball against a team that's not great against the run, and there's just no way around it. We got to get back to that.
Yeah, Latavius, man, we've got to use him. The thing that I like about Latavius is his size and can help wear down a defense. Cook is a shifty fastback. I really like him coming out of the backfield, kind of a third down back maybe in the old days, screens, tosses in the flat, maybe a couple up the middle. things on the outside. I like that, but you got to use Latavius a little more. I think we used him twice last night. I was disappointed in that, especially if you can come at him and kind of beat him up a little bit. Rodgers is Rodgers. You know, the story of this game to me is it's down to it, man. If the Packers win, they've got hope for their season. If they lose, they don't. If we win, we've got hope for our season. If we lose, we don't. In that sense, it's a big game. We're both kind of in that middle of the division. Someone's got to come out on top. You know, and then you got to face Rodgers in that situation. Yes, we're at home. Yes, the Gallerhorn. Yes, all the skull and everything. But, you know, we need to win this game. I don't care if it's 52-51. I don't care if it's 6-3. We need the W. If we get the W, we can kind of look towards the future. We've got a tough schedule. We've got some tough road games. But it kind of you need this one. I mean, this is a tough one.
Gotta have it. Gotta have it, man. I don't care if it's -9 to -0. I know that's not possible, but if we can win that way, I'll take it. So let's hope that the Vikings get through. We're both. Are you picking the you picking the Pack attack?
I can't pick the Pack attack. I just can't. My constitution I can't do that. I got the Vikings by 10. Vikings by 10. I feel like the defense comes out. You know what I saw last night, and I certainly hope it's not true, but in a way I hope it is true. The defense kind of got to a point where they said, okay, we have to win this game. And they kind of took it over in the second half. They were like, all right, the offense is doing what the offense is doing. It's back to the way it's always been. We thought we got a break with the new offense, but we don't anymore. We've got to win this game and start causing turnovers, making plays. And I think they're going to carry that on. We've got a little bit. I mean, it's a rivalry. It's just this game separates families and relationships, and so it's a big game. It's always that way with the Packers, and hopefully the home field will lend us a little bit of help, and we can get this W. But yeah, I mean, what do you do? We lose this game, and what are our hopes? Line them out for me. Can you win out and still make the playoffs? I mean, it's a tough road to hoe if you lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'd actually. I'm not sure if we'd have to win out to stumble into a wild card. But yeah, if we lose this game, it's wild card or bust. We're not. The division's by far gone then, because that's a division game too. We'd have to have we'd have to have the Seattle game. It's just we'd have to. We'd have to December 10th and on. We'd have to win out then. But then, if we did lose, Sunday's game, then we're back-to-back losses. And hey, by the way, you got to go to the Patriots. Then we're going to lose 3 in a row. So, God, when I shape it like that, I'm like, man, yeah, maybe we can make a wild card if we lose this game. Maybe we can. Now, the NFC, if you keep an eye on it, the Skins, a couple other teams looked good a couple weeks ago. Now they've lost 2. I think, man, there's a possibility to lose these 3 in a row and then win 4 in a row out at Seattle, Miami home, Detroit on the road, and then Chicago at home. There's a possibility to get that wild card, but man, that is just sneaking in there, and we may have to sneak in there, with this in general. But God, yeah, you're right, dude. If we lose this game, it's slim pickings for that at that point, because then you got a chance to lose 3 in a row. I shouldn't even say a chance to. It potentially could be, but man. I didn't even want to go there.
I don't want to be talking draft in December,
Yeah,
it's just
right. I had my eye on this Pittsburgh offensive lineman. We could bring him in for O'Neal. They roomed. They used to room on the road, so I like what I see out of that guy. Yeah, I don't want to. I want to talk draft in May. You know what I mean? In April. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, well, we both are picking our Purple Pride to get the W. Let's hope A team that didn't get the W in a hard-fought loss was our Minnesota Gophers. 5-6 now. Must win to get that 6th win to go to the bowl games coming up against Wisconsin, who actually got a nice little victory in triple overtime against Purdue. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, that game, that Northwestern game, Northwestern, ever since their 1-3 start or whatever, they tightened it up. They get to the Big Ten, and they're a different team, more like the team we've known to be coached by Fitzgerald. But when you break this game down, neither were that proficient on third down. 4-13 for Northwestern. We were 5-12. 0-5 on fourth down combined. Total yards, very close passing yards, very close rushing yards. We had a little advantage, very close though. Penalties, not much to speak of, but it was turnovers. It was turnovers, man. 3 turnovers were what cost the game, bottom line. The first interception didn't turn out to get them points. The second one did, led to touchdown. There was a lot of turnover on downs on both sides in this game. One of the turnover on downs led us to tie the score, but then the defense gave up a very short drive at the end of the half, or close to the end of the half, I should say, to get them up 13-7. We turned them over on downs again, then missed a field goal. That really sucks. And then a fumble later, which led to some more points. I think a field goal. They did a nice drive to make it 24-14, still in range, but we turned the ball over and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it was the turnovers. The turnovers lost this one. Like I said, they didn't kill us in many areas. Thorson was just good, 5-21 for 230. Morgan had his moments, but he threw 2 picks. We ran the ball, 20 of 98, 4 of 9 a clip from Ibrahim. Not bad. Johnson picked it up, ended up with 8 and 88. Actually was the 4th receiver all time to go over 1,000 yards. But, yeah, fumbles or, just turnovers, man. That was the key to this game. Otherwise, we fought them tooth and nail. We were right there the whole time.
Isn't this the Gopher game we've been watching for the last 20 years? It was just like, okay, I know this game. I know how this is going to go. I know the plot. I know how it works. And it just seems like that's the Gophers we know and love. Now, we're trying to obviously improve from that, but it's just kind of a reminiscent of like, oh, yeah, I've seen this before. I've seen this game a million times. And, Northwestern, they played well, and we beat ourselves, and they didn't, and they came out and just executed, did what they had to do, and we made the mistakes. Like you were saying, we had the turnovers, we had the lack of execution, we had the bad plays. So, it would have been interesting to see us go a little bit farther into the game, still with the score tight, and see what happens. Maybe they tighten up a little bit, maybe we force them to make a mistake. But overall, I thought the Gophers played well for what was on the table. Northwestern's obviously won their side of the Big Ten, and they're going on to play the championship game. So that's a good football team, and you had your hopes up. I know I did. Thought maybe we can steal this one, but they're just a better team than us right now, and that's just the long and short of it. But they, I think they're making improvements, like you're saying. Taylor Johnson. Now, I don't think he's going to come out for the draft, but he's a junior, so he might. And I certainly hope he doesn't. I think he needs another year, and we definitely need him for another year. So got some good talent coming up behind it. And there's just turnovers, a few big plays. Couldn't really stop the run all that well. They got a big bruising running back. So, this is kind of a game that, just kind of played out its course, and it didn't really have exciting moments or 2 touchdowns where I think just 2 short runs into the end zone. So, yeah, it was a Gopher game, and it was nice to see them play well outside. I kind of worry about that sometimes, but it seems like this is a squad and a program that's going to kind of embrace the cold and and not get shocked. You know, I think I've mentioned this before, but it's nice to see. I don't think we've seen it, Chris, in our years, a throwing, competent, passing offense at the University of Minnesota. I mean, we did have the Adam Weber
thing. Of pass catchers, not just one guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's the Adam Weber, Tim Brewster kind of period for a couple of years where we were adequate throwing the ball, maybe above average. But it's just nice to see a different brand of football instead of the ground and pound and running quarterbacks and all that stuff. So I think that's really positive looking up. Now, going into Wisconsin, man, at Camp Randall, you got to have this game if you want to go to the bowl game, unless you want to go to that We Got Good Grades Bowl, which we take, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I like the Gophers here because I want them to win. I think the chances of them winning, it's maybe 49-51 of them, winning. So Wisconsin's a little bit rough. They got a quarterback, kind of like our old quarterbacks, can't throw all that well, but, seems to be a good game manager. But that running back, man, they got, I don't remember his name, but he's a heck of a running back. I think he might do some damage. So, Wisconsin is Wisconsin. It's a big rivalry game. It'd be nice to get the axe.
Yeah, it's been so long, too. I don't even want to bring up the stats. I'll probably bring them up next, win, lose, or draw. Of course, we won't draw, but win or lose next week, I'll probably bring up the stats on it. But, yeah, Taylor, in this game.
1994. 1994
really?
is the last time we beat them in Madison.
Oh, in Madison. Okay, yeah. You know what? And I remember where I was in that game, too. I remember where I was. I remember who I was. It just clicked right now. Because I was kind of thinking about the last time we won in general. I also remember that block punt. All we had to do was punt the damn ball. And that didn't go so well. But, yeah, Taylor, this freaking guy, I think he's had 4 300-yard games. Jonathan Taylor.
That's it.
He had 33 carries for 321 and 3 touchdowns. And some people are going to say, well, it's triple overtime. Yeah, but they line you up at the 25, guys. So, it's what I mean? He got plenty of those without any kind of overtime stuff. So, that's what this game comes down to. As we talked about bend to don't break, we're going to bend. Oh, we're going to be stretched out. We're going to bend, but we can't break. We can't break off of it can't be the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s where you go, hey, Emmett, you want to run right or you want to run left? It's up to you, dude. Whatever you want to do. Okay, let's go left. And you just walk 8 yards into the end zone. We can't have that. Now, like I said, they're going to get down in the red zone. They're going to get, within the 10. Once they're there, we cannot just let them do it like that. You cannot just let them Dallas Cowboys us with that line. You just can't do it. We can't have it. We can't have it. Whether we got to bring in that 6'8", 400 dude, for the goal line, bring him in on defense from offense line. I don't know what we got to do, but we cannot let them just run the ball for touchdowns, man. And Hornibrook will make some plays, but he'll also make some just dim-witted, dumb plays, and that's where we're going to win this game. Go ahead.
Is Hornibrook back for this one?
Good call. Actually, no, he's not. No, they have a backup.
Okay.
Good call.
Well, I was going to say that, it kind of bodes well for us because we can commit a lot of the defense to the run because apparently this kid can't throw, this kid they're playing right now. Now, he could go off. I don't want to say that. Let's knock on some wood. But he hasn't been able to throw the ball successfully very, very much this season, as much as they've played him. He's young. I think he's a freshman. But, if we can commit a lot to the run, stop Taylor, and force him to throw, I think we got a chance. Now, like I said, you never – every time we have good plans, they don't seem to work out that way. But that's the hope, You commit 8 to the box, stop the run, try to cover the best you can in the secondary, and see if you can hold them to less than 20 points. And if you can do that, I think we're capable of scoring 20 points. So, I think there's a chance. We're going to root for them. And, that sixth win, you get that bowl game, it's going to, that's going to mean a lot. So, hopefully these guys are going in and the seniors really want to get to the bowl and show up and have the best effort of the season. I mean, it's the last game of the season. It's kind of an all or nothing thing. So, maybe you can muster enough. It'd be just really nice to get the Axe back here just for, Wisconsin's got a down year and they can always say, it was a terrible year for us. But, once you get it, it's a little easier to keep it.
Yeah. And the one thing is, this isn't your father's Wisconsin Badger defense, right? This isn't what we're used to seeing, and I mean just basically last year they had a dominant defense. But they've had a dominant defense for a while. And that's not this one right here. Purdue could put up points, no doubt. Somehow they didn't put up a bunch of points against us, whatever. But they can give us some points. So we're going to have to cash in too. The turnovers in the red zones can't be. But, yeah, we're actually going to be able to move the ball on them. I do believe that. And, by the way, Blake Cashman set the record for most tackles at the bank, TCF Bank Stadium, 20 on the day for Blake the senior. So he went out with a whole lot of pride. And also Tyler Johnson, like I said, he I think his fifth catch of the day got him over 1,000. Just the fifth one, not the fourth. It was the fifth, actually. Only 5 people have been over 1,000 yards as a wide receiver. So yeah, let's that would be crazy, dude. Like if we could win this game, that's a first of all, like you say, get the Axe, and that's just no matter what, it's been so long. That's a win. Like, we're going to feel great about it. We beat the freaking Badgers. It's something you can look at it and mark and go, okay, that's another thing that we can say that we did. It's not an impossible type thing, especially on the road. You know what I mean? Yeah, this Wisconsin team is not, that great this year, but it's still on the road. Man, I don't know. I'd say, yeah, I pick them, but I just want those 12 to 15 practices, man. We have such a young team. People don't realize how important those bowl practices are. I know it's like the Midas touch, bullshit bowl. I get all that. I don't think there's an issue this year, but there is a potential that 5 and 7, like you said, that that 5 and 7, we actually got a bowl win out of that year when we were 5 and 7 a couple years back. I don't know. It's tough for me to. I'm going to say that they're going to end the game because it went too long. I can't pick the Badgers. I just can't do it. I can against other teams, but this year I'm just gonna non-pick. How's that? That's really a wussy way to go out. But I just want. Well, I just want the those practices. Go ahead.
I think it's it's safe. I'm just calling the Gophers. I'm like you. I'm on the fence too. I'm just going to the Gophers because I want them to win. But I think it's closer than it's been. So it's actually a reasonable chance. Now it would be great if we had this game at home. I think we have a really good chance of winning it. But that's not the schedule. So it's too bad Larry didn't join because we really have a chance this weekend to just crush Wisconsin. I mean, we can beat the Packers and essentially end their season. And we can maybe be part of the end of the Wisconsin empire as far as college football is concerned. Now, I'm sure they'll come back, but it's kind of been tailing off, so maybe, the recruiting isn't going the way they want to go. But, yeah, it's not your usual Wisconsin team. But, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of rub some salt in the wounds with Larry, maybe get him on the show next week if the weekend goes the way we'd like it to.
Right. We'll see if we can set him up for that. This would be the year, though, that we beat him, right? This would be the year that we beat them. It's just like, yeah, we beat them on the road. We couldn't do it when we had, a berth to the conference final game back in 15, 14, whatever it was. but maybe we do it. Maybe we do it this year. Any last thoughts? Obviously, we're at the end of the show. We do want to kind of talk about a podcast we got coming up here in probably about a month or so, or 2 months, I'd say, more likely, less than 2 months. I don't really know. Kind of matters how long the Vikings go. It totally does. But we mentioned it last week. We talked about the Jimmy Butler trade, and it's so early. A lot of people off of Jimmy's first game were like, "Oh yeah, look, Jimmy he only put up 14 points. Look, and then he goes and puts up a big game and then wins a game at the with .03 or whatever. Derek Fisher's a shit from 3 line, and the Timberwolves. We talked about fit, and how Covington is a first team, all defensive player. That's with Embiid on his team. So that, there are going to be some votes around there. They're at different positions, of course, but it's tough to get 2 guys on the list. And those are like not fan, voting and stuff like that. He fits in well as far as a fit around Towns and Wiggins. We have seen Wiggins, which is no surprise, go back to his first 3-year form as far as getting the ball where he likes it. Once in a while, getting it where he's actually dribbling down the court so they can't set up on him. He's hitting the 3 Wiggins in general this year a lot more. But Covington had 4 threes the other night. Just makes the hustle plays. He's fitting in nice. I think Sarek's been productive off the bench. He's going to shoot better. 3-point shooters tend to be obviously, kind of they come and go at times. Like, you're going to be streaky, no doubt about it. I think his shot will fall. He's kind of a underrated, just smart basketball player. So I think Covington going into the starting rotation and stuff, that made a lot of sense. It really fit. That's a good fit. Now, where does it go from here? I'm not gonna. It's 3 games in or 4 games in. They won 3 in a row without Jimmy being on the team. Of course, we lost and won some without Jimmy when he was resting or whatever. Any thoughts? I do want to say, though, we do have a show coming up. It'll be a weekly podcast, Minnesota basketball themed. That's why we're talking about later, deep into this podcast. We figure there are some Vikings fans and some Gopher fans out there that follow both. So we will have a weekly Minnesota Timberwolves / Gopher basketball. And on that front, the Gophers are looking pretty good. And, the last 2 wins they've had, they haven't even played their best ball, especially last, night. They had a bunch of turnovers, but got it done when they needed to. I really like the 3 freshmen coming into the season. I like him even more now that I've seen him play. And it's going to be a good year for Gopher basketball. Timberwolves is still kind of figuring out. Any thoughts on that? And obviously, we're letting our audience know as well. Come January, sometime, probably mid-January, we're going to be in that weekly basketball Minnesota-themed stuff too.
Yeah, I'm still in kind of wait-and-see mode with the Timberwolves, kind of in that honeymoon period of new players and kind of a new-look team. I hope it continues. I think, like you said, Covington's a good fit for the team. I think Sarge is as well, kind of a stretch guy who can hit the 3. Guys, we need our 3-point shooting has gone up drastically, which is something that we really needed to do. Wiggins is looking a little bit more comfortable out there. I'd still like to see him be a little bit nastier with the ball, a little bit. He'll get some drive into him and really start to dominate and get up in the air like he likes to do. But the Gopher basketball team, I'm really excited about it. I love this team. It's deep, Chris. We haven't seen a team this deep.
We don't even have Curry. We don't even have Curry, a proven player. We still haven't seen Curry yet.
And the Carr kid that didn't go through waivers or didn't go through the clearinghouse, the NCAA crap. So
right.
And then we got the Brock Stahl kid. So there's a lot of depth here, which is nice. And, if you get injuries or you just want to do a big rotation, I really think that's a thing looking forward here for the winter time. It's going to be a nice basketball team, And I think Patino knows it. I think he's kind of pulling back a little bit on what he has to say about it. He wants to kind of see and wait and kind of develop the guys. But Omersa looks good, and he looks like he's that kind of slasher. And then you've got Kelcher who can just shoot the ball, and it just seems like a really nice team coming together. Now we'll see what happens later in the season. But going into the big, I think, we're not ranked yet, but I think if we come out of this Vancouver thing, we're going to be ranked, and it's going to be something. So, yeah, a really nice team, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and just so people know, Tuesday should be a game where we put a lot of bodies. We should win that game fairly easily. And then we have Washington the very next day. It is kind of that weird tourney thing where it's not like a normal setup for a tourney. It's basically like just guarantee 3 games, in a random way, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. I think we can pretty much wrap it up. I will say this about Tibbs, though. Offensively, I could already see him, adjusting minorly, and he knows he's at least addressed what they have to do. And it'll be a lot easier to get the ball to Towns and Wiggins, without Jimmy. Now, are we going to be third or potentially what we could have been second seed with Houston starting out of the gate? No, we're not. But obviously that wasn't going to happen this year because, of the distraction and all that. But I'm saying based on what we did last year to this year, yada, yada, yada. But if you look a couple years ago, the way our team was built, we are deeper now. There's no way around it. We are deeper now. We have players that fit the next 5 to 10 years of NBA basketball a lot more than we did too. So overall, I think Tibbs is actually, even if he gets fired, I think he's going to leave it in a better spot. It's just going to be a roller coaster ride. With the Butler than the gone Butler. And that sucks. And I didn't think him. Definitely Taylor has something to do with it as well. Because we know Tibbs wanted to give Jimmy the money right away. And Taylor said he did, and then he didn't. And he switched it on him. Offered him 4 years, 110. A lot of people are freaking out. It's $110 million. He can't take that. Well, considering he's got a 5/190 coming right around the corner, what would you do? Are you just going to give up $80 million in an extra year? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But anyway, let's get out of here. Enjoy the week if you can. Some people take it a little bit harder than others. It is just a game. Doesn't feel like that. Your heart and your doctor and all that, they care about that stuff. So everybody just calm down, take a deep breath. Let me coach the team. I'm not gonna go Denny Green on it. But let's get that frickin' win that we need pretty damn bad. It's a must win, 100%. Go Vikes, Skull Vikes, beat the Packers. Peace.
Once you become the world champion, I believe that you feel you have the upper hand. So now, as you fight, let's say you fight 4 or 5 years of straight survival, the bullshit, the holdback, and when you become the world champion, you're like, you know what, I made it. Now I'm going to show you it's business. So I'm going to get every dollar worth of what I deserve. Why? Because I'm the world champion.